If you run a landscape company, running Google Ads can be an extremely beneficial avenue of marketing for your business to help you get new clients. So what I'm going to show you in this video is how to get completely set up just at a base level, how to set things up yourself and get going on Google Ads if you run a landscape company, teach you what to do, what not to do, and some very niche industry secrets that's going to help you get started on your own. So real quick, before I start, I want to show you here's my overall manager account as a whole. So just this year so far. So my clients, about 80% of my clients or more are in the local home service or just local service in general. So just this year so far, responsible for a little bit over 85,000 clicks for all my clients. My clients on average see about a 5x return on their advertising dollars. And I've generated over 6,000 conversions this year so far. So those conversions are either going to be booked appointments, like for some of my my health and wellness or medical clinics, calls, and lead forms. So between those three, over 6,000 conversions generated this year so far. So real quick, before I get into it, I want to say that if running Google Ads was as simple as, being able to watch this quick 20, 30-minute video and getting everything set up and then just letting them run forever and, never touching them, and you were able just to get leads forever, then I probably wouldn't be making this video, because it does take a lot of maintenance and a lot of expertise to really scale and grow a Google Ad account successful to be a profitable marketing avenue for your business forever. So if you're like, Johnny, we just want to leave this up to you, then I have a link to my website in the description below. And if you fill out that form, unless I am sleeping, I will call you back within 5 minutes personally on the phone. We can figure out a time to chat and see if we can do something together. But needless to say, let's go ahead and get right into it. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my personal account just to show you guys, how to actually get started. So here's what an empty Google Ad account for the most part should look like. If you're not able to get here, you go ahead and go to ads.google.com. Make sure that you're using the email, or I guess your business email, or whatever email that you want to use to be attached to this Google Ad account as the owner. Make sure you're signed in with that email. Answer some of the basic questions about the name of your business, how many employees, what industry, etc. And then you will get to something that looks like this. And this is your overall Google Ads overview. So you can make a campaign here, or even down in here if you want, but either of those works. So let's go ahead and create a new campaign. And for landscaping, so every local home service or local service, or honestly any type of business running Google Ads, there are several different campaigns that can work for them the best, right? So if you're a plumber, I would suggest mainly only doing search, because people, there's an urgency when people need you. But for landscaping, because there is a large chunk of that business that is a luxury or something that people get when they want, and it's not something that people need, you can either do a search campaign or a performance max campaign, or ideally both. But no matter what, I would always recommend that you start with the search campaign, just because performance max is a way to open up, your marketing and be more broad and kind of influence and show off pictures and, like I said, kind of influence, right? But for search, this is a really good way to micromanage your budget and make sure, hey, we only want to come up on Google when people are looking up this, right? So it's a lot more bottom of funnel, a lot more niche. So you guys just starting out with a lower budget in general, search is always going to be the way to go. I'm not going to go through making a performance max campaign in this video because the setup is very similar. So I'll let you kind of just go at that as you will. But again, a performance max campaign will help you scale. But to start out, we're going to make a search campaign. So first, we're going to start with website traffic. Obviously, you might be thinking, Johnny, well, we want leads. Of course, we all want leads. But a brand new Google Ad account, or if this is your first campaign, I would start with website traffic, because Google doesn't know who these leads are, because you don't have any leads on Google yet. So it doesn't know their demographics, their behaviors or interests, anything they do yet. So it's going to be hard for them to find you leads because there's no data. So let's go ahead and start with website traffic. This is your conversion goal. I'm not going to go through how to set up, a website lead form or a call from your website or call from ads conversion action in this video, because that's a topic for another video. But ideally here, you'd probably have lead form, call from ads, and call from your website. And we're going to go ahead and click on search. And then the ways that we would like to reach our goal. So what's our website? I'm going to use this example here. This is a client, or I'm sorry, this is just a company, not a client. I have no attachment to this company. I have honestly no idea who these guys are, but I like it. So let's just do Think Green AZ. That's going to be our example client today. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make this the campaign name. So for you, if you're running ads yourself, it's not super complex. Just make whatever's going to be easiest for you. But since I run a lot, I like to use very specific naming conventions to help me keep track. So this is a search campaign. We're going to be going for clicks, going to be traffic. And then let's just say we're going to target one area. Let's just do Scottsdale, and then my agency name here, EMMA, just so I know. So this kind of gives me the full scoop on what this campaign is for. So click continue, start new. This is my example account I do all these videos on. So there's a lot of drafts of campaigns. So The bidding goal, again, remember we want to do clicks, not conversions yet. No need to set a maximum cost per click yet. That is more of an advanced strategy, but in some local home industries, you can see that cost per clicks can get really up there. So this is going to be to, make sure that you're not bidding in every single auction when you have money, but limiting to the highest you want to pay. But for now, I wouldn't go into that. You're going to want to turn both of these off. You don't really want to be showing up on random Google partner websites. You want to be just on Google. And then the display network, if you want to be showing off your, your videos and your images on the sides of websites and whatnot, then we would just stick to that Performance Max campaign. This is just basically Google's way to make sure that you're always going to be spending all your money. So let's hold off on that. Going into locations here, drop this down and make sure you click on people in or regularly included. You don't want to be targeting people who are interested in Arizona or, wherever your business is operating. Of course, you want to make sure that you're targeting people who live there and are there currently. So enter new location. Again, this is going to be totally up to you and where where your business is at. But for this example, I'm here in Arizona. I just realized, I just remembered I'm wearing a hat for this gym I go to here. There's cactus in the back. I'm in Arizona. So that's the example I'm going to use. And I know landscaping is very, very big here. So let's just say that we're doing Scottsdale, right? So I'm just going to show you an example. If I go ahead and type in Scottsdale, look at how big this is. And if you're not familiar with this area, this might mean nothing to you, but Cave Creek to South Scottsdale is quite the drive. That's quite the difference. And of course, if I was to do all of Phoenix, that would include all the way up to Anthem and South Phoenix. It's a very, very big radius. So if you have like a specific shop location, you're like, hey, we go 20 miles around this address. Perfect. Go to radius, put in that address, do, that radius mile limit. Or if there's just certain areas in Scottsdale or wherever that you want to, do your jobs in, go ahead. And what I like to do is I like to click show all areas here, scroll in using control or just clicking this plus and minus here, then actually choosing these neighborhoods and zip codes themselves. Be like, hey, we do here, we do here, we do here, here, like, right, including all these little ones. And that's going to make it so you can almost like build your own map. So I'm going to let you do with that as you will. You're going to know obviously how far you want to advertise and how far you want to drive for jobs. But regardless of that, I always, because I am here in Arizona, we're really close to Mexico, I always exclude Mexico. Just to be safe, I started to exclude California, always do Canada. And then just to generalize, there are some countries that usually drive a good amount of spam or, you get marketed to and they click on your ads. We don't want them, clicking on our ads because that's going to use your ad spend. So let's get rid of China. I get rid of Pakistan, and then I also get rid of India. And this is just to protect our spend and make sure we're not getting any irrelevant traffic. So once you have that, you are now done with the locations. English, if you target any other languages, more than welcome to add them in here. But I'm just going to stick with English for this. Audience segments, don't worry about that right now. Broad match keywords off. If we want those, we'll use them. Yada, yada, everything here. What I will say, so for some folks that are only taking calls primarily, like a plumber, for example, or HVAC, it might be the most helpful for you to put in an ad schedule or, hey, we only want to advertise, when we're actually going to be able to take calls. It's not really worth spending money at midnight and then returning a call in the morning to someone who's like, oh, our toilet was leaking. We already got it fixed. We needed a 24-hour plumber, right? Typically, that can come to leads that have already been helped or just, spending extra money almost for no reason, right? But if you're a landscaper, again, a good chunk of your service is also a luxury. So people aren't necessarily like calling and need an emergency or need something right now. So if you have a lead form on your website and you can get back to them tomorrow, keeping it on all day is not really an issue. And if you see weird traffic times of, traffic after midnight and like before 4 a.m. and stuff, then you can go ahead and put a little limit like that. But for now, you can just keep it open. All right, so now getting into it, this is where we're going to make our first ad group and our first ad. Google here wants to use that domain or the website we gave them to help us create assets, but we're going to skip that. We want to do it on our own. So here you have an ad group. So an ad group is always under your campaign and your budget's always at a campaign level. So the way that I split this up is I always like to have one service or one main thing per ad group. Okay, so your ad group is attached to your keywords. So if someone types in, landscape designer, then so this keyword would trigger this ad group, which is, going to show the ads that are in that ad group. So kind of confusing a little bit, but I like to split those up because if someone's looking for, let's say, commercial landscaping or residential landscaping, and you have them as keywords in the same ad group because you're like, hey, we advertise for both of these, so we want to keep them in there. But if someone's looking up residential landscaping and then they start seeing ad headlines and images and stuff for commercial, that's quite the throw off, right? We want to be really congruent. There's a lot of people advertising for any type of industry out there. So I've had the most success really niching down and separating this. And then at scale, you can always duplicate the campaign, and give the other ad groups some love, because if there is one ad group that's getting more spend, AKA If there are certain keywords in certain ad groups that have a higher search volume, then those are going to get spent quicker and your budget's not going to get shared around. But that's a more advanced strategy for actually scaling this campaign. But first, I'm just going to show you the example of how you would do this for one ad group. So let's just let's do some keyword research. So I use a SEO tool, I guess company or whatever you want to call it, called Mangools. They have a lot of SEO tools, but I like their keyword finder, I guess it's called, because when I type in a base keyword, it gives me recommendations, right? So I need help with the creative part. You can look up any keyword you can think of and find the volume on Google's, keyword tool planner or whatever. But I like to actually, get advice like, hey, here's what you looked up. Maybe try these as well. These also have high volume. That helps me just keep this quick and kind of leverage this platform for actually finding these keywords. So let's just do resident. I can't type. Landscaping. Really can't type. Trying to look at the screen and not the keyboard. That's what'll do it to you. Okay, residential landscaping. Okay, so a good amount. As you see, lawn care. I would see an example here is I would split up lawn care and landscaping. Landscaping is more broad, to like, okay, backyard stuff, fixtures, fountains, maybe tile, whatever, but lawn care is very specific. So if you really want to get into it, and this is something that I do as an agency owner because I don't want to be lazy and I want maximum results for my clients, is I would split those up into ad groups. A lot of people won't, because it's just easier to keep it and, we are advertising for it. So I get that. But again, I like to keep them very separate. So that's an example. Let's just do landscaping as a whole. And let's see what we find. Okay, so there are lots. Site One Landscaping. So is that must be a big company. I'll have to take a look at that. Okay, backyard design, landscaping company, landscaping architect, lawn care. Okay, so just looking right here, backyard again, commercial. So kind of what I thought, looks like you would have an opportunity here for several ad groups. I would do design, landscape designer, landscaping companies, residential, commercial, backyard, and lawn care. If you really wanted to put the time into it, I would do ad groups for each of those topics and see where the spend goes, where you have the most success, test, etc. But again, that's part of what I do because this is a lot of work to do all this. But let's just do landscape design. So seems like a company who might do like 3D mockups or digital mockups and be like, hey, we're going to transform your backyard. Here's what it would look like. And as you can see, there's a lot of searches, several thousand a month here just in my, my area here, Phoenix. So, okay, let's just do design. So landscaping design. And when you're when you're doing your keywords, there's 3 different types of keywords. There's exact, phrase, and broad. Each of those serve their own purpose. An exact keyword is someone has to be basically looking up that exact, term, and then your ads will pop up where that keyword will be triggered. Phrase is it has to include that phrase. So if you just put landscaping as a phrase, any one of these keywords that have the word landscaping in it would be triggered. And then broad is just like basically, any word that you put in there can also be found. So broad is a really good way to kind of open up your search terms, spend more money. But if you're watching the search terms and making sure you're only getting relevant traffic with making negative keywords, then you can actually typically save on your cost per click. But these actually aren't too bad. $5, $10, $7, $9, $4, $11. That's actually not horrible. So let's just go ahead and run with these. So I want to do landscape design. And what that's going to do is that's going to cover, if I made this a phrase match, that's going to cover landscape design near me, landscape design company near me, landscape and design. That's going to include all of those. So let's just make a few here. So let's just go. Sorry, was it landscape or landscaping? Yeah, okay, it was both. So let's just do landscaping design, landscape design. Let's take a look. Backyard design. You could include that. I would anticipate that most of this is going to be for backyard. But see, this is desert landscape front yard. So that's very specific. Let's do backyard design. I'll make this one checked because there's not really a lot of other keywords that specifically say backyard. So backyard design could mean anything. That could be like a lot of DIYers or people looking to take on projects themselves. That's a lot of things I see with this industry is like a lot of, Home Depot guys looking up what's the cost, what do I need how could I do this, how to fix, etc. So when it is something that can kind of be done by someone or like a project, really want to make sure that you're making native keywords as well and really only picking keywords specific for people actually looking to take action, not just do research or, do it on their own. So backyard design could be, a sketchy one because it looks like people might be looking up designs or looking up what they could do, get influence, right? Some Pinterest stuff. So you want to make sure it's company near me. Those are all really high. So, actually for the sake of it, I'll put my money where my mouth is. Let's just actually get rid of that. Let's do landscape design near me. These are all going to be good. These are all going to be covered right here under the phrase. Hardscape, that's a whole different thing as well. But if you want to include that, go ahead. Landscape and design. Let's do landscape and design. I do like phrase match keywords a lot. Landscape architect's a good one. So again, you kind of see what I'm doing here. You can play with this forever and do it how you want, but just make sure that you're really sticking, to one thing here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to name this so we know what it is. Whoops. Perfect. So that is that. So we know what the ad group is. Again, I'm just kind of doing this, off of just improv right now. I didn't do any previous look into this. So you can play with this forever, really figure out which one's going to be the most strategic. But again, it's going to come down to just making sure you're including enough, keywords that are going to give you enough search volume, and then as well as testing. So if this makes your cost per click too high, maybe try more exact, or maybe try, honestly, you're probably going to have to try more broad match keywords. So just, do what you can there. It's totally up to you. But your final URL here, you're going to want this to go to a landing page for the most part, right? Especially if we're like, hey, we have an ad group, we're doing 6 ad groups, but this one's specifically for landscape design. We're not going to want to bring people to the home page, but we're going to want to bring people to the design. So here we go, right here. They have a design process page. They have a design build gallery. So this would be like a good site link, which I'll show you about. But this design process page is okay. That's not that great. This form looks decent, but I would like to have more like real, instead of just like text, probably have like, images. Like this is really good, but like maybe some more of those and show some real examples. This text on this doesn't look amazing either. So I'd beef this up a little bit. But, if this was your website and this was the ad group you're running, this is where, what we'd use. So let's just go ahead and use that. We want to send people to exactly what they're looking for, not put them on the homepage and let them find out. So this display path here is just a little thing that's added after the .com/. It doesn't really do anything. In the future, Google says that they want to actually use it to help, with their targeting. So just go ahead and do it. I always just like to make it, related to what we're talking about. Landscape design, perfect, something fun like that. And then, so your headlines, right, you can have up to 15 here, and there are 30 character limits. And what it does is there's always going to be 2, unless they're really, really short, you might have 3. But for the most part, you're always going to have 2 showing. And as I'm sure you can see, right, like landscape architects, high quality standards, those are 2 different ones. So it's going to play one after another. If you have any specific ones that you want at the very front, you can pin it so that one's always going to be number 1. I like to put like brand and like very base like keyword stuff, right? Like landscape architects. I like to keep that stuff as number 1. And then like any emotional or any additional, I want that to be second, just because I want it just looks better. And I guess kind of makes more sense to have it that way. So what you can do to actually find this ad copy is, 1, you can use ChatGPT, give you some ideas. But what I like to do is I like to use as many of these keywords as I can. Here we're only using a few just for this main example. And I also like to sweep the landing page. So if I run your ads for you, I'm going to make you a killer landing page that I know is going to convert better, because these cost per clicks, you can see, can kind of be expensive. So it's important that your landing page crushes, so you're actually converting this traffic into phone calls and lead forms rather than just people, searching around. So what I like to do is I like to be as congruent as possible. Google likes that for the ad rank. It helps the keyword quality score, and overall the congruency of people looking up something, clicking what they saw, and then converting on it is all going to be, very smooth if everything is congruent and aligned. So let's go through here. Like one of our best services is good. That's okay. We take vision, finances seriously. Ooh, this is a good one, right? Because landscaping can get out of hand in terms of budget for most people. And I'm sure that, not everyone has unlimited funds. Obviously, there's a spectrum of this, but something like take your vision, like we take your vision and finances seriously. Obviously, that's going to be too long, but I'm kind of just helping you brainstorm here, because you also have descriptions. So Google made these on their own, as you can see. But again, I'm just going to go through and how you can, formulate these and how you can get these going, how to do this yourself. But every time I'm doing ad copy, so headlines and descriptions, I like to include about 4 or 5, elements or angles total. One of them is going to be the offer. So if you guys are doing any deals, always, have an array of those. Emotional, right? Especially for something that's more luxury like this. Like, what do people actually want out of this? Do they want to have a fun backyard? Do they want to be the fun neighbors? Do they want to have people over, impress, etc.? That's all emotional. Another one I like is local, like talking, near me, Scottsdale's best, serving Scottsdale for this long, like that helps a lot. Another one is going to be like expertise, how long you've been in business. And then as well as like, that kind of includes like social proof, such as like, I think this one right here said like what? Oh, serving Scottsdale area since the 2000s. Or what if it was like, 4,000, locals, backyard transformed, stuff like that, like adding that social proof. And then always your call to actions, whether that's call now or book now or fill out our form, we'll get back to you, etc. Making all that very clear on here as well too, right? Like this is fill out the form, we'll get back to you as soon as we can, etc. So let's just go ahead and look through a little this more and see what we can find. Again, the copy on here is very standard, but book a free, see this is complimentary. So this is a good headline right here. Complimentary design consultation. I hope that's not long enough, but you can always tweak these, right? So that is a little one. Let's just do like, free design consultation, stuff like that, like adding all that. That's part of, whoops, I keep doing that. That's part of just like your call to action for that one. Goals for the space. We want to get to know your desires and concerns. We take the time to understand, blah, 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 blah. The copy on here isn't amazing. You could even just search on competitors and see what other, people are using on their ads or their website as well. Okay, well, I'm not able to come up with a ton of great ones here. Usually I can get a bunch, but let's see if we have, let's see what we can grab from the home. Just to give you guys a couple more quick examples. Oh, this is a good one too. This is like an emotional one, right? Create your perfect outdoor paradise. See, there we go. That's a perfect emotional line there. Award-winning design. There we go. Build firm in Scottsdale. Beautiful landscape renovations. Now we're talking. Okay, all these are good. This homepage does look pretty good. This is a beautiful picture or video. Yeah, I like this. I like it when there's videos and photos, like, the big header. It does really good, especially when there's text over it that looks nice. This one could have like a little opacity overlay, so it's easier to read, not just like white on white or these other colors, but looks good. Contact our design experts today. That's good. Serving Scottsdale and training areas since 2000. That's the one that Google gave us. Same thing with high quality standards. Attention to detail. All this stuff is really good, okay? You can include all this stuff if you want, but this is more like niche and you don't want it to stray away from what you're advertising for. Okay. Done with that. I think you guys get how you can find good ad copy. Next is your images here. I'm gonna show up some examples. If I Google residential landscaping Scottsdale, the images go here on the side. Kind of hard to see for the most part, but in my opinion, when you have this, you have your logo, you have an image, you have good headlines. This here is only one short headline, but if you have a bunch in combination, you're always going to stand out more, to someone who doesn't have a picture, isn't using a logo. So in my opinion, it's always good to add those images. And if you're a landscaping company, I'm sure you have tons of photos. Obviously, it looks like this client, or this company has tons of pictures, so it shouldn't be an issue there. Next one here is your business name. As you saw here, this guy's using, their URL, their domain, because they didn't do that. They didn't fill this part out, or they don't have the business advertiser verification done. But this guy right here, see they have their business name instead of just their URL. So that's something you add there. Business logo, again, this guy has this guy doesn't. So just add that logo in there. And then these are what are called site links. Google used to make them so they come down like this. Right now, what they look like is they're like this. See that these are site links. So what I like to do is I don't want to stray people super far away. So if someone's looking for, landscape designer, maybe don't just be like, hey, commercial landscaping, residential landscaping. But what I like to do is I like to use those site links, right? When someone clicks on it, I'll show you. It just goes to that part of their page, right? But you have a little bit of copy there, a little bit of text. I like to use it to reinforce and encourage what they were already looking for. So for these guys, right, like the design process we're bringing people, the landscape design build gallery is probably the best site link you could ever have, right? Because you want it to reinforce. So not only do we have the process, we have the gallery. Like you can even add like specific ones of here because these are all slightly different pages. So you can put in the URL here. Recent projects is a good one. Testimonials is a big one because if you're gonna be paying someone lots of money to do stuff with your backyard, again, the social proof is everything. That's why these guys are doing great with all their pictures. And then contact us is always a good one. But how you do that is you just click on here, this plus. You put the text, right, like whatever it is here, contact us, a blog, gallery, whatever, and you put the URL here and those will come up there, which we saw earlier. Same thing with these callouts. You didn't really see them much for here, but if I do Scottsdale plumber, here are what these callouts look like. So they're little tiny gimmies. They're kind of like those site links, but they're just like added to the bottom of your descriptions. They're little, like, in my opinion, they're just like one-liners. I like to call them little gimmies, I guess. Little stuff. Caller book now. Why choose us? Financing. 7 days a week, best in town, cheapest price, fastest delivery, guaranteed, satisfied, whatever. Put all that stuff in there. There's just, in my opinion, little one-liners, little gimmies. It helps, just little stuff. More assets. If you have any promotions for you guys, it's probably not the biggest thing. I wouldn't put your prices here, of course. Obviously, that's very, very specific. Calls. Always have your phone number there too. Like I'm sure we can probably see one. If we don't see one, that is going to blow my mind. Wow, plumbers are not using the call extension. That's crazy. Anyways, there's a spot right here where you can just click call. So for you guys, again, it's not as important as like a plumber, because a plumber, someone's, sink is backed up. They're not gonna, dance around and probably look at landing pages. They're probably gonna call whoever has the best price and probably comes up first, right? Name of the game. But add that call extension here so someone can just call you right away. That does it right here. If I just go ahead and, this is my business line. It's on my website, so I'm not worried about that. But it comes up just right here, right? Someone can call right away. I'm not gonna save that. Pretty much that is everything that you need. You go ahead and click next. It's going to bring you to your budget. Of course, Google Ads is on a daily budget. So if you spend 33 a day, that's $1,000 a month. If you want to spend, $10,000 a month, that's $333 a day. So kind of play with that. Do, of course, what you're going to get yourself in for. But some little things too, once you click next, you're done. Again, you can do that performance max campaign if you want. I'm not going to make a video on that, but that's, if you really want to scale and be more broad and, get real new, almost out of market or, more middle or top of funnel customers. But then again, coming down to Google Ads, it's not going to be as easy as just setting this up. You're going to have to monitor those search terms. Probably going to have to play with your maximum cost per click bid limit to make sure you're not just, spending way out of the ballpark range on clicks if if you still have budget for the day, etc. There's a lot of stuff to this, but if you want to get this started on your own and get, at least get started, this is a great foundation for you. And again, if you want me to run these for you, I have, well over a dozen or 20 or more, clients in, your relative industry. So would love to help you out. Again, over 6,000 conversions for all my clients this year so far. That includes calls, bookings, and form fill out. So can definitely help you out. But I hope this was able to get you off on the right foot. And if you have any questions, please let me know in the description below. And I wish you the best of luck.